Hello YouTube people, in today's video I'm gonna show you how this very classy vintage style chronograph watch from Farasute looks like on these custom straps, and I'll show you a little bit of this watch and also a little bit of this watch. This video is sponsored by AliExpress and Farasute. AliExpress gave me a budget which I was free to spend on any watches that I wanted for my videos, so I contacted Farasute, asked them if they're willing to give me a 50% discount for this collaboration, and Farasute told me that, you know what, we're gonna give you this watch as a gift, you just pay for the shipping. That's incredible. Farasute, thank you so much, and thank you AliExpress for paying for the shipping. So to make things a little bit more even, I also bought this watch without even telling Farasute, effectively making 50% discount across two of these watches. So thank you AliExpress for paying for that watch. And also this watch that I am about to show you in this video is from my previous collaboration with AliExpress, where I bought this watch using AliExpress provided budget. So thank you AliExpress very much, and thank you Farasute. Specifications and measurements, and as always I did all the measurements myself. So this watch naked like that weighs 42 grams. Diameter of the case is 37.9 millimeters. Lug to lug distance is 44.5. Lug width is 20. Thickness together with this domed sapphire crystal is 11.5 millimeters. This watch has water resistance rating of 30 meters, and inside it has VK64 movement, and the size of my wrist is 16.5 centimeters or 6.5 inches. Usually in my videos I have a lot to tell and I have to hold myself back quite a bit, but for some reason this time I'm just a little bit speechless in front of this watch. I feel like a cat looking at a shiny toy hanging on a Christmas tree, you know, it's a little bit hypnotizing looking at this watch. And what's strange, well, not strange, what's nice, speaking about Farasute in general, that when I look at what they offer, I don't see a single watch that I would call ugly, you know. There are some watches are a little bit more beautiful than others for my taste, but there isn't a single watch that I would say doesn't look nice, you know. They're all watches, their whole range is very vintage, it's inspired, very classy, very sophisticated. Absolutely love that, absolutely love that, and I believe this watch embodies that very well. This sophistication, this vintage style, this sharp look, it's unbelievable. And you know, I want to do a little bit side-by-side comparison to really show you what do I mean. Like, I have three watches from Farasute right now. Let's begin, for example, with this one. I already did video on this watch, and I mean, look, this is a slim watch, very nicely finished. And the dial on this watch, it's like, you know, I'm not smart enough, I don't have knowledge deep enough in watches, to be honest with you, to fully tell you what do I think about this watch, what this watch actually feels like, you know. This is incredible. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this is apparent across the whole range of Farasute, that their dials are very metallic and very nicely engraved or pressed in. I don't know what they do, but they do something right. Let me tell you that whatever they do something right, because it looks just spectacular. And I love that their dials look the opposite of plastic, I love that their dials look like it's a piece of metal. It's a piece of very beautiful shiny metal. I absolutely love that. So this watch, I will make a separate video for this watch, so let me just show you this watch briefly. By the way, check out the difference in color. That's interesting. This one looks a little bit more like copper. This one is, I would say, like a salmon dial. But you know, also look at this dial. It also looks like a piece of very beautifully done metal, this dial and those hands. And I especially love those bubbles as indices, you know, little bubbles as indices. It's like, also take a look at this one. Also very apparent theme that this dial looks like very nicely engraven sheet of metal of some kind. something like that. You know, it's incredible. It's gorgeous. Absolutely love everything about and the precision, and especially the precision. Pay attention to these tiny gaps between separate sections. For example, look at the minute track, and both sides of the minute track you can see this green pattern, this green engraving between the minute track and an hour track, and also between subdials and hour track. This is like, it's, man, this watch is a little bit more like a jewelry rather than a watch, to be honest with you. This is that type of a watch that I feel the need to look up close and use almost like a microscope to fully appreciate how well this watch is done, you know? That's usually not the case speaking with AliExpress watches in general. Usually with most watches that I review in my videos, I look at a watch like this, and yeah, it looks nice, that's it, that's good, that's it. There is no need to look any closer, you know? But with watches from Farasute, I feel the need to look up close and even closer. It's like, and the closer I look at a watch, the more tiny details I see, the more I appreciate how everything is built and fit together, and all those tiny microscopic gaps between separate parts on the dial and everything, and how it plays in the light, and those beautiful hands and everything. You know, that's the thing. I'm either completely speechless about this watch, or I could talk non-stop the whole day, you know? That's how I feel about this watch. Absolutely everything. The dial, the finishing of the case, the proportions. Wow, just simply wow. And speaking about small things and attention to detail, I want to show you one specific detail. Pay attention to the end of a minute hand, the pointy bit of a minute hand. It is actually pointing downwards. Look, such interesting feature, you know? The very end of a minute hand is pointing downwards. And also the seconds hand of a chronograph, also the end of that hand is pointing downwards a little bit, you know? Let me put those hands next to each other like that. Take a look. It's like, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm losing focus a little bit. That's very interesting attention to detail, and that's kind of a detail that you wouldn't normally notice on a watch until a few hours in playing with the watch, you know? That's something that you wouldn't notice right away. That takes time. So there are certain small attention to details on this watch that, you know, you need time with this watch spent to actually notice them and appreciate. Okay, so this is a review, not an advertisement video after all, so let's do a little bit of quality checks. Let's see how is the alignment of hands. So let's set time on exactly 6. Let's see if the hands are sitting straight. Yes, hands are very nicely aligned. The right subdial, which shows 24 hours, also nicely pointing at 18 hours right now. And looking at the chronograph, also let's check the chronograph. The chronograph subdial also nicely pointing up. The seconds hand of a chronograph also very nicely centered. Let's start the chronograph. By the way, these pushers feel very, very mechanical. They have very nice clicky feedback. That feels wonderful. So let's stop the chronograph. Let's make it reset. It jumps back right in place. Everything seems very nice. Now let's take a better look at the case and let me show you all around. I really love that vertical engraving around the case. This vertical engraving, it looks just wonderful. It really fits the style. Also look, the crown has Farasute logo and engraving. So how the case back looks like. This is how the case back looks like on this watch. Lugs are done nicely. I feel no sharpness. Very beautiful lugs. You know, interesting thing, looking from top-down view, it appears as if those lugs are actually long, but they are actually not. This is just a visual thing, because if you look from the side profile, look, these lugs are pointing down quite a bit. quite a bit. This watch on my wrist feels wonderful actually. It's a lightweight watch, short watch, not big. It's very comfortable watch on my wrist. Anyway, I just wanna give you a good look all around. Just taking my time, and I'm myself actually enjoying right now looking at this thing. It's a very beautiful piece of jewelry. That's what this watch is. Now, as I see, Farasute always uses the same type of strap, so let me show you how is it. How does it look like? It has this nice texture. On the inside it feels soft and nice, and it's actually rather slim strap. It feels great. It feels great. I have worn this watch for a few days. It is holding up just fine. Just fine. Feels great. Doesn't feel stiff or anything. It's a very flexible, slim strap. That's nice. Also want to show you the buckle. The buckle on all three watches that you see is actually the same. It's very nice. It's also like an extension of the watch itself. It's like a piece of jewelry. I really love the shape, the contour, this tiny Farasute logo engraving, and it's done very, very nicely. And there is no sharpness. It's very nice. It's very nice. So yeah, straps on Farasute actually very good. But no matter how good is the original strap, it's always fun to mess around and try the watch on different custom straps. So let's do that. Let's begin with this vintage style leather strap, which you can find on my website, thomaswatchreviews.com. I think the style fits this watch very nicely. It does look good. I think it does look good. Now, even though this is a chronograph watch, but in my opinion this is the dressiest chronograph watch I ever seen. This watch looks nicer than some dedicated dress watches in my opinion. So I wouldn't see a problem wearing this watch even in a wedding, you know, as a dress watch. That's how nice this watch is. So let's try this watch on a shiny black leather strap, and yeah, it looks very good. It does look very good. And how about this shiny chainmail bracelet? Yep, it does look good. It still looks good. You know, this watch, you could say it's a strap monster. You can put anything on this watch and it's still gonna look great, as it seems. Strange thing about dressy style watches is that they look very good on nylon straps for some reason. And yeah, this one does look great. Some people hate it to see a dressy watch on a nylon strap. Me, I'm just having fun, you know. It's fun, that's just fun. And this is black pure leather strap. And you know, I think it looks great on this watch because this leather strap gives off a vintage vibe, which is very fitting for this vintage style watch in my opinion. And it does feel very comfortable, by the way. I feel nothing. That's how I feel right now. I feel like I have nothing on my wrist. That's how good it feels like. Wonderful. And for the ending of this video, I would like to play a little bit with the light, and I would like to give you some different shots how this watch looks like in different lighting scenarios. At the very end of the video, I'm gonna show you how this watch looks outside and from third-person view. But right now in this homemade studio, let's just play a little bit with what we have. So let's turn off this light perhaps, and maybe, you know what, let's give it dark look like that. So let's see how it plays out. This, you know, this dial, this watch, it's very much alive no matter the lighting, you know. It catches light very easily. It reflects even tiniest amount of light. This watch is always very noticeable on the wrist, and in a very good way. Not in a showy way, but some kind of a very classy, elegant jewelry, I would say. Yeah, that's what I call this watch. This is a jewelry. Such an awesome looking thing. Well, I don't even know which light I should show you. You know what, let's play a little bit without the orange background light, so you could see a little bit better the color of the dial. This green is very interesting. You know, at some angles like this, it looks like it's a very green color, but on some other angles like this, it looks like it has a little bit of blue, you know. It's that type of a green that tends to shade a little bit towards blue, and I love that. That's why I chose the green color. Usually I would go for the blue dial, but I think this green, it looks a little bit special. That's what I like about this green color. It does have a little bit of special look. You know, let's play a little bit. Yeah, a little bit with this, and a little bit with this. Yeah, I'm obviously a little bit speechless with this watch. You know, I don't even need to show you this watch straight up like that and tell you, wow, it's beautiful. I could also show you like that and say, wow, it's beautiful. No matter the angle you look at this watch, it's very beautiful thing to look at for sure. Yeah, quite a piece of jewelry. And you know what? Also want to show you this one a little bit. If you haven't seen the video about this watch, I'll put link in the description. Also quite a spectacular looking thing. And this one, I'm also gonna make a video about this one a little bit later down the line. Also the theme across Farasute watches is the same. It's jewelry. It's more of a jewelry than a watch. Absolutely love that. So yeah, thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.